Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we talk about TV shows and adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Wednesday, Season 2, Episode 4. A great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we have the opening with Wednesday and her grandmother. And it's interesting because you saw a disposition on Wednesday's face you never see, because when it comes to her mom and her dad and just generally everyone, she meets them with such discontent, like such a stoic and like discontented like expression. She smiled and perked up for a second with her grandmother. I was like, oh, that's interesting. That's such a interesting thing. Like, she's not always like that, but there's little moments like that where that glee takes over, which I think is interesting. But she talks to her grandmother about everything, you know, because this ends up being this is the cemetery where all the patients from Willow Hill ended up being cremated. But her grandmother, knowing kind of the trade, she smells it and has Wednesday do the same. It's like, okay, use everything I've taught you, and it's just animal bones. There's no human bones, meaning all the patients never died. Their deaths were fake. You're like, okay. So, but then the bird comes up, snatches away her evidence, and gets away with the avian controlling all of it. And so Wednesday's attempt to kind of force her mother's hand, or rather get her grandmother's help, because it's like, oh, what would make me help you? It's like, well, if you basically buy this cemetery for me so that we can find out who orchestrated all those fake cremations and stuff, this will make mom think that you're bringing me into the family business, and you'll rear up some childhood trauma and pain for her. And she's like, oh, that's my granddaughter, knowing exactly how to get under someone's skin. And I'm sure in moments like that, there's probably a little more Tisha in that, but there's probably a lot of her grandmother in that. And I'm sure in moments like that is more Tisha, like, probably that's what she struggles with the most, is she doesn't just see her own self in Wednesday. She sees so much of her own mother. So I also love that we get the full return of Fester, not just in a flashback like we did in the Driver's Ed episode. But Wednesday ends up calling in her uncle for a favor, because it's like, well, he knows how to break into facilities. In fact, he's gotten into Willow Hill before, and in fact broke out of it. I love that he was able to catch Agnes too when he's like zapped her. He's like, yo, who is she? Is she with you? It's like, oh yeah, this is my stalker who I've now turned into a paidless gopher. And it's like, huh. He's like, I'm a big fan of child labor. It's like, Jesus, Fester. But, you know, obviously want to help out his favorite niece and stuff like that. So, because of the challenge of it all, because we find out he went to Willow Hill before because Morticia asked him to go there, because that's where Ophelia got sent. But by the time Fester got there, she had already broken out. So he decided to get back and spend a few more weeks there just to, you know, enjoy the place and the facility. But yeah, like, the way he goes about it's funny because a major theme in this episode, and I never really thought about it, but obviously there is the direct parallel of like, this has this series as a whole is very Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, because there's a lot of parallels between Wednesday and Sabrina, both thinking that they have an answers for everything. It's like, yeah, you're not as wide as you think you are. You get tunnel vision, and you kind of don't realize the dominoes that like trickle out because of the choices you make, and that ends up being a major aspect of this episode, of the dominoes that fall because of Wednesday's choices to do what she's done. So, because Fester, getting himself locked up, took himself to the inn or motel or whatever that Bianca was hiding her mom at. And so when Fester calls an issue, the police show up, she gets dragged in because the room is supposed to be empty, and she has no ID on her because she's trying to lay low. So that forces Bianca's hand, and that sets everything in motion on that front. So that wouldn't have been as much of an issue, but Wednesday's decision unintentionally has massive consequences. And Fester's way to draw attention was, hey, I'm going to pay for all this with this money that's obviously covered in bank ink. Also, I'm going to just trash the room, act like a complete and utter lunatic. And I love him being in front of Fairburn. And, you know, the first time he was here, he was like he'd been locked up in a facility. It was like his parents had dropped him off at 10 years old. And the whole thing of just being like, What do you see here with this blot? Death. Death. An ice cream cone. Wait, can you turn that? All right, still death. And then just being like, oh, so happy to be reunited with a what was it? Straight jacket, and that was kind of his thing, like the first time, and just like, the good feel of it. I love two things about Fester. First and foremost, all the fake IDs. The one that, what was it? Fester Fiesta. That was Fairburn's favorite one. It was definitely mine. Of the ones we saw laid out, it was, because one of them was like, it's fun. Like one's is like, oh, like I think Smith Addams or Fester Smith. Like we saw some of the different ones, but Fester Fiesta was definitely my favorite too, and I love that. Also, when they did a brain scan, you literally saw scissors, nails, a whole bunch of other stuff literally inside of his brain. Obviously, Fester is a very, very, very special case. Once again, when you're tied to the Addams family in that shape or form, you're going to be. But I think even amongst the Addams family, but he's probably the most outcast oddball of them all. But it's like, that's what makes him special. They're all outcasts and oddballs in their own ways. Going through electroshock therapy, wanting to go for a second round. Honestly, the thing that got me was the him and Luis thing, because he's like, oh, your name's not, no, your name's Luis. And whatever, turns off the light, and then them making out. First and foremost, we see it later on in the, well, it's rainy and stuff, but it's like massive open mouth kissing, and but when they're in the closet, like the pantry or whatever, making out, you're hearing like all the, it's just like, ugh, nobody needs to hear that. Sorry to anyone that had to hear me make those sounds during this recording, but you get what I'm saying. It's just like, it's gross making out. It's not, I mean, I think that's meant to be, it's meant to be funny because of how gross it is. It's gross making out. It's not sexy and hot and steamy making out. It's gross making out. Fact is, you're here for an undercover mission and you take some time to kind of get someone aside. Hey, more power to you, because obviously it works out in the long run, because Luis kind of fell hard, because it was like, oh, kind of a nice little psychiatric fling, you know? I'll go ahead and say it. That line from Fester, what was it? Out of all the women I've used, you're my favorite. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, that's a line in the show. That's so insane. Okay, so while Fester's doing his own investigating, looking for Lois, we have Wednesday keeping in it at arm's length, which she's kind of annoyed, because Wednesday working on her own is one thing, but her specifically working with Agnes is what rubs her the wrong way specifically. And so Enid's kind of like, right, like I can help out with other aspects, you know, it's like of the like without having to be a part of the investigation. An overbearing and complicated relationship with a mother. Hey, been there, done that. Not being able to, like, kind of losing control of your powers and not having control. Hey, I'm there, like, bestie. I could be your support and help you through that stuff, because, you know, that's kind of me last season, and still me to some extent with the whole mother relationship. But you get what I'm saying. So, but, you know, in Wednesday's defense in her mind is like, the further I keep you away from this, the more likely you're safe. The birds roll up and attack. Got to give it up to Headmaster Dort, like doing his thing, like shooting those like fire pot shots at the bird. There was also the situation, it was scary when one of them went out of its way to grab Thing. I wonder what it was going to do. Like, I wonder if it was going to use Thing, like the avian behind all this, were they going to use Thing as leverage, because they know, like, oh, he's very important to you, he's part of the family and stuff. So obviously you're immediately like, well, if Thing fell, would anything really come about? It's like, well, yeah, it probably would die. Might just be a disembodied hand, but you're still like a human hand regardless of your circumstances being as you are. It's almost like that thing of, oh, like you're constituted and you're this living disembodied hand, but you're still a human hand that could, you know, die and bleed out. So that fall that would kill a human would kill you too. Luckily, Enid came in for the sake, because it's like, yo, that's her buddy, her and Thing are pretty tight, but also, like, you know, he's part of the pack and everything, right? So Wednesday gave chase to the avian and ends up running into Fairburn and then eventually Capri, but Capri was kind of breathless. So you're like, okay, so it did seem weird, because I'm like, why is Fairburn here? But I was like, I don't think it's going to be her. And it's like, Capri, once again, it feels too obvious, considering, like, well, one of the teachers here previously was evil, so, like, would we really do that again? Because Fairburn was there for Capri because Capri's going to play music at Willow Hill, which ends up being Wednesday's into the facility. There's also the thing between Wednesday, her grandmother, and Morticia. The whole situation of, I think it might have been this point in the episode, or maybe a later scene in the episode, where because I am doing some stuff out of order, so do forgive me. But like Morticia giving Wednesday once again that line of, "You need to stop because you never know like what the consequences are going to be. Like you're going to make things much worse." Because once again, she's kind of chasing this. The last vision she had ends up sending her down this path, and it's like your insistence to go down this path is going to kind of be your undoing. And it's kind of like, it's understandable she wants to protect Enid, but it's like you're not taking time to stop and think. This is what happens when you get driven by your powers. Like the fact is, you're letting that consume your thoughts and your mind and everything. I get it. You want to protect your best friend. And obviously for Enid, if she knew the truth behind this, for one, she'd be upset that Wednesday didn't tell her the truth. But two, she'd also appreciate being like, "Oh, you went so above and beyond for me. You do care about me, bestie." Either way, it leads to the conversation about what happened to Ophelia. Her ending up at Willow Hill was actually their mother's decision, even though Morticia tried to talk her out of it, but it was kind of a no-go. Because they ended up finding her in like the courtyard of Nevermore, like screaming because she had overused her powers, and her mother's way of dealing with it. Because even though her Morticia tried to tell her mom, it's not a psychological thing; it's a mystical thing. It's not a psychological thing. It's a psychic thing. We need to kind of help Ophelia with, but I guess their mother thought she knew best. Because she brings it up later on about like Morticia's raising Wednesday the way she has. It's like, right, give her free reign, let her kind of make mistakes so that she can grow. And it's kind of, I guess, that very hands-off approach. Even though she has a hands-off approach, she also does have a hands-on approach, and that's kind of where her and like Morticia bump heads on like her mother's parenting style. Because it's like Ophelia went missing for 20 years, and that's why we don't know where she is. She's like, well, I made that mistake, and I guess in her own mind, it's like, her and like Morticia, I don't even know if her mother even considers it being a thing possibly of them repairing the relationship. But the Ophelia thing does seem like, even though she tries to pretend like it bearing her emotions, like it doesn't affect her, it does still sting, because I think she does feel like a letdown of a mother, but I think she can't let herself drown in that. She has to live her life, but I'm sure she has regrets. We'll probably also find out that she's secretly been looking for Ophelia for the past 20 years. She's probably just never let Morticia know. Because she also made a snide remark about like, wanting someone to be independent and kind of have their own thing, kind of not be so dependent on their husband. You know, Morticia not following the family business and just kind of leaning into like, trying to say like, right, you just got everything that Gomez has and that, so it's like, it's not yours, and I'm trying to do the same to Wednesday. Once again, doing everything she can poke and prod and twisted knife when it comes to Morticia. But she's went like, the fact that you try to contact me means you need money because you're ahead of the gala. It's like, okay, I will give you money to the school, but only if you give Wednesday back Goody's book. And Morticia's like, the one thing I won't basically compromise on, the one thing it's now never up for negotiations, it's my family. And she burns the book. I had said this previously. I think it was all going to be theatrics. I think she never had any intentions of actually burning the book. I think it partially burned, but I think she probably got it out of the fire before it did. Because the way she looks concerned, because I think for her, she feels like maybe there are answers for Wednesday, but maybe there's answers for her sister. Like if they ever found Ophelia, maybe that book could help her get some answers on how to help her sister. So that's probably why she wanted to obviously keep the book, and like she could have dispensed of it well before now to keep it out of Wednesday's hand. But it's also like, it's your legacy, it's our family, like it's in our family legacy. And so I think there's also the element of maybe she did plan wanting to return it to Wednesday at some point in time when Wednesday's better equipped to handle it, because it's like, you're not in a position to handle that right now. You're going to drive yourself to the breaking point like my sister did, but I will give it back to you in the future when you're properly ready for it. When you can use it as a tool and not let it be the end all be all. Let it be something that, I don't know how to phrase it. Basically, let it be something that it adds to what you already have. Don't let it be, like I said, everything. Because if you have the knowledge and the wherewithal and the proper guide by your side to have all the things you need, like, then this being a tool will only add. But if it's all that you're holding on to, if this tool becomes your everything, then you're kind of already at a false start. I didn't phrase that properly, but hopefully you understand what I'm trying to get across. Wednesday also learned from her grandmother about Augustus. He's the guy who got rid of the body, well, fake the deaths of the patients from Willow Hill, because we found out he was a normie who was the head of Willow Hill. He also taught science at Nevermore as well. In fact, Christopher Lloyd's character knows him, but it's like, I never really liked him because he was a normie and I never trusted him. So, but we also found out he did have a child, but immediately Wednesday's thinking like, well, it's got to be the avian then, because these got to be all these connective dots, because we have Fester on the inside looking for Augustus, but Augustus is in such a mental state that he can't communicate. Well, he has these birds, which are like interesting, but he's definitely not the avian. But for all these birds to be around him, I think that was supposed to be this key sign of like the avian probably, his child probably keeps the birds around him to keep him company. But you have that one parrot who runs its mouth. It's like what was it? Eat shit, Baldy, and then like Fester electrocutes him. It's like, holy shit! I was like, I love that we got this parrot being. I mean, literally, the dude warned Fester that the bird had a foul mouth. But sadly, Fester ended up getting found out while he was investigating, because he ran into Thornhill, who recognized him and used him as like, oh, I'm a use him as leverage to kind of get in good with Fairburn, and he gets knocked out, which he's like, ooh, this is gonna sting, and gets popped in the face with a baton. Then he gets put in the same cell room as Slurp, and he's all giddy about it, like, ooh, this must be a first for him being around a zombie or whatever. God, there's other threads. Like I said, I'm all over the place. One small thread in the episode that obviously we don't get a full conclusion to, we'll have to wait to see how that fares out, is the Bianca of it all. Obviously, she kind of like, Barry, or Dort rather, is just a tool, and not, she's like, oh, I got something coming up that's personal, but he's like, no, like, you just got to put that aside because you failed to get us the money, and I have to let like people know, the higher ups to know, like, why the money, we haven't got the biggest donor that we could. And so we have Ajax helping out Bianca with the whole mom situation. He ends up stoning their teacher, Orloff, right? That's Christopher Lloyd's character's name. To give them time to go deal with the situation with her mom. Which I'm immediately like, are we going to make the whole Ajax and Bianca thing now, considering like, well, the Bruno and Enid thing has become more of a thing? But either way, she ended up getting her mom and bringing her back to Nevermore, and they overheard some of the conversation Dort was on with one of the people he's like working for, which that is something we still walked away not knowing what his full plans are. Once again, he could have the best of intentions, and he just might be going about it the wrong way, and he might be manipulated, but maybe he has good intentions. We don't know. That's a thread that is left open too, but I guess that can only mean like, just like Eugene, mainly Pugsley, but them hiding Slurp here, they're probably going to do the same thing with Bianca's mom. So we'll have to see where things go on that front, like how they keep her hidden. And like I said, I just get the feeling like that Gideon guy is definitely going to come back into the story, and he's going to get to her in some shape or form. I don't know if he's going to make his way to Nevermore or what's going to happen. I don't know, maybe like she's gonna be found out and like Dort is gonna like force Bianca's hand, probably put her in a position where it's like, hey, your mom can stay here and I'll keep her hidden, but you're gonna have to do something for me, and that's maybe dealing with the whole Morticia convincing her mom to actually donate thing, not unless she decides to do it on her own just to spite Morticia. I don't know. We'll have to wait to see on that front. Wednesday, working with her reluctant trio because she's fine working with Agnes trying to break into Willow Hill to get Fester out and also find out about Lois. Uh, but Enid wants to be involved, so she tries to give Enid the least like involved element to this is okay, just be on watch and call Santiago in case Sheriff Santiago in case like stuff goes wrong. She ended up sneaking into Capri's car, and that ended up being her end, which is like, it seemed like Capri only happened to be there to play music, but it's still kind of suspicious. We know she's not the avian, but it's still like suspicious that you just happen to be there playing music. Other than you being the fact is they dedicate time to you playing the piano and performing. It feels like, I don't know, we're gonna find out like she's a harbinger of doom, that like basically her music causes misfortune or something, like some shtick like that. I don't know. Cause I was about to say, do we even know what she is? A normie, isn't she? I think she is. I don't know. Just the happenstance of it all. Like I said, it benefits Wednesday, but still you being there. I don't know. Because the fact is that Fairburn would go out of her way to. I mean, I guess it's like, right, you probably have, like, what is your connection to Nevermore in the first place? Like, why would you go there? Why wouldn't you get, like, a music teacher from somewhere else? I get, like, she's a big enough musician, so I guess that plays a part, but, like, why you'd even kind of reach out to her just seems suspicious. There's something there, but I'm just not quite sure what. It's probably going to be a while before well, obviously, but just, there's probably going to be a couple more threads that need to be pulled before you even get an idea of, like, what her role properly is in this story, because I'm just like, she continues to be an enigma. A major thread I have not talked about in this episode is Thornhill, her trying to get good with Fairburn just so she can get close to Tyler, because it's like, oh, I can help you, like I'm the one that unlocked Tyler's mind. The fact is, I think she even said she used some of the tactics and stuff from Fairburn's book to manipulate Tyler. And so it's like, you need my help. Like, you want to get inside of Tyler's head and unlock it so that you can, start the real healing process. Because Fairburn brought her here for that purpose, because it was never like meant to, even because she reiterates like she wanted to keep them separate. And I'm like, then why'd you bring her here? It's because she thought she'd be the only one that could reach out to Tyler, because her being brought here was only temporary. But she wants to be brought here permanently to stay close to Tyler, just so she can easily manipulate him. So she goes and tries to meet with Tyler, and the moment he gets an opportunity, he tries choking her, and she still believes herself to be, oh, I've got enough juice in the tank that I still have enough sway on him. I'm a mother, he's my child. And it's like, well, a lot of parental relationships have been deteriorating over the course of this season in particular, and all kinds of complicated nature of things, even though, like, once again not his mother, you are his master. And she's trying to do everything she can to stay close to Tyler, even promising like, yo, I'll get you out of here. And he lets her go. I don't know if he just was still at that time willing to still care enough about her to let her go and maybe believe her sweet, like she's always whispered sweet nothings in his ear. So it's kind of like, yeah, you have come through for me in the end, so maybe you actually will. But maybe the entire time in between then and the end of the episode, he was practically sitting on it, wondering and thinking and considering what he actually was going to do. Wednesday breaks in and saves Fester and frees him because his new lover, Louise, ended up helping. And I love that she's like, when you see Fester, tell him you're waiting for him. And Wednesday kind of pauses, almost has this disgusted look, like, oh God, now I know why you're kind of a compatriot and why you're participating in all of this. But the problem is the zombie Slurp ends up getting away after Fester like zaps him. He's prodded enough and the thing is loose enough that he breaks free, and then he proceeds to start chomping on some brains. And this is where the real domino effects start piling off, because it's like the facility is turning into chaos because this zombie's free, eating brains, getting more. I was about to say getting more smart, getting smarter. Jesus. What I thought was interesting too, and I don't know what that was about. It looked like Thing and Slurp recognized each other, and I'm just not sure. Because in that moment, like, he was looking at Thing almost like he recognized him, and then, like, got distracted because, like, they were trying to attack him and subdue him. He went back to just chowing down on other brains. I was like, interesting. Wednesday and Fester found their way into the facility, and we found out what Lois actually was. It is, and I said anagram was like the last episode. I was like, there had to be more to it. I was like, there's no way it's just a name. I was like, I said anagram, I meant abbreviation, because I was thinking that it was an abbreviation, but I was like, no, there's no period. But in retrospect, what should have also been a key sign that might have been abbreviation was all the letters were capitalized. Like, would you really do that if you were spelling out a name? The fact is, it was only first name and no last name. That should have been a telltale sign to me. So I was in the ballpark, but I talked myself out of it. But it's like, I should have thought about that at the time. Like, right, it's just all capital letters. But it stands for Long-Term Outcast Integrated System. And we found out what this is started by Augustus, that basically all those outcasts he claimed had died, he basically kept them as experiments. And the last person they went to, the one that Wednesday helps escape later on, that's definitely got to be Ophelia. It's got to be, especially because they haven't seen her in 20 years. That's sad, meaning she's been locked up that long. The father was doing the experiments, and then eventually the daughter did. And we find out the person behind all this, Augustus's daughter, is Judy. And I was like, I knew that lady was suspicious. That super happy disposition. I just had an inkling. I was like, it has to be her. Like, she just seemed too, like, I knew something was off about her. I felt like Fairburn wasn't the one behind this. I even said so. I was like, the way Judy puts it, she was like, I hired her. So she was more in the know about it, considering, like, she busted Fester because she didn't want Wednesday all up in her business. So it is a thing of, she did in fact know, but she wasn't the main villain, like, operating this whole thing. It was Judy is. So basically, the experiments were about trying to give normies the abilities of outcasts. In fact, Judy herself is a normal human a normie who ended up gaining the powers of an avian, which is actually, like, pretty twisted. Even by Fester says, even by his own standards, that's pretty twisted. Taking what's something special about someone else and giving it to yourself just to make yourself feel different and special. It's like, yeah, your own dad experimenting on you is kind of sick and twisted, but she's like, no, I actually volunteered. My father needed someone, and I wanted to be that person. I mean, the abilities I'd get in the long run. So Fester let out kind of electric shock that ends up knocking Judy down, but it ultimately ends up knocking out the power to the entire facility, and every cell, both there in the lowest facility as well as just the facility as a whole, unlocks. So everyone's on the run. It seems like Judy got away. It doesn't seem like she's dead. She got out fine, but this gave so many people that were locked up there who were potentially dangerous are set free. Once again, the consequences of Wednesday's actions are massive. You have the zombie Slurp continuing to kill people. He ends up killing Fairburn, eating her brain, and then killing Augustus. So, like I said, I don't think Judy, even though those outcasts were after Judy, I don't think they actually got her. I think she managed to get away. So she'll probably blame Wednesday because it's like, it's because of you, my dad's dead. So there's probably going to be that angle to it. But also, it turns out the guy, Augustus, knows, he knows Slurp. And he calls him old friend because it's like, right, he probably would have been at Nevermore whenever Slurp was there as a student or whatever. Cause wasn't like because Augustus built like the Iago Tower, like or parts of like there's an element to a Iago Tower he made specifically for his daughter. That's why Judy knows the ins and outs of how to like get around Nevermore. But it's like because I don't know if there's no confirmation because they never really covered it in the story. But him when he got during the accident, it seemed like he fell out of a window. I was like, I had said it at the time when we first went to Iago Tower this season. I was like, isn't this the tower he was in during that little short backstory we got for Slurp? Yeah, Thornhill trying to reach out to and convince Tyler, like, hey, like, I'm here to save you. And then Tyler proceeds to be like, well, no, I'm going to kill you. Like, you're not my mom, you're my master. And because of our connection, I'm going to give you a 5-second head start. I'm like, there's no way she's going to get away, is it? And lo and behold, she doesn't. She gets murdered. I was like, wow. So in twofold, Tandy Newton and Thornhill and Christina Ricci are gone first half of the season. I was like, wow. I mean, she got stabbed through the stomach and thrown against the wall. It's like, she might still be alive, but they made a point to like zoom in on her eyes being open, but there's a chance she potentially survived that. Whereas, well, Fairburn is super dead because she got her brain eaten, but there's still room open for you to be like, and you saw the body and she wasn't moving, but she could have been faking her death. Because I'm like, is that really enough for Tyler to have killed her? But it might have been. And then Wednesday confronts him and he proceeds to knock her through the window. Obviously, she's not dead, but she got pretty banged up there. And now he's on the loose along with so many other patients. It's like, wow. So when Wednesday calls Havoc and when she made things worse, she really, really, really made things worse. And I wonder if there's going to be any blowback on her will Nevermore have any repercussions for her doing this? Because Santiago and them are there, and I don't know if they have any proof that Wednesday's the reason why everything went so pear-shaped. So I don't know if she'll suffer any like ramifications. And even if she does, it's like, well, Gomez being our lawyer will probably be able to bail her out to some extent. But yeah, it's a hell of a point to end the season off at, with just everything in pure chaos. Going to try and probably round up all those other outcasts. Who knows if Tyler's going to rally up his own army of every outcast that was out there. Maybe those specifically part of Lois. Maybe Tyler can rally them up into his own little army. There's no telling. And like I said, there's just so many other threads. The Barry of it all, the Capri of it all. We still don't know like what roles they play in all of this. Then there's Bianca's mom. So there's a lot to deal with. Even then, once again, Judy's potentially still out there too. We know who she is. Granted, that doesn't mean you can like stop, whatever else she might have planned. Like I said, she might be dead set on her revenge on Wednesday, just like Tyler is. So maybe there's a lot of people that have issues with Wednesday that could end up inadvertently joining forces to go after her and cause havoc and mayhem. I'm so excited to see ultimately where the second half of the season takes us when the show returns on, I believe it's just a month from its premiere. So like, I believe it's September 6th. So got a couple more weeks. Obviously the first half of the season only dropped a couple days ago. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see where the second half takes us. But really that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.